All right, so we're going to get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie, and I manage the marketing and education here at Tru Abutment. Today, you guys are joined for us to go over the ioConnet and the three-shape workflow from scanning to designing. Our main speaker today will be Joshua Lee. He is the Tru Suite R&D manager, but he does more than that, and he does participate in developing a lot of our newest products, including the ioConnet. So you are hearing from the expert today. If you guys are not familiar with our Tru Suite brand, pretty much what it is the main launcher where you can be downloading all of our available softwares. So the link to go check that out is trusuite.truabutment.com, and you're going to see this landing page with the download button. And once you hit that, you're going to be seeing this launcher where you can be adding individual applications that you want to be utilizing. And of course, today we're going to be focusing on just the ioConnet. I understand that today's class is not a hands-on class, so nobody needs to be really following along, but I'm just going over the basics. And so this kit we have available in 3 different compatibilities. Starting from the left, the All-on-T kit is the conventional Nobel compatible type with the screw size of M1.4. And we have our own implant brand called Urus. So this is the second kit compatible with that. We do have a larger multi-unit screw of size M1.6. And lastly, we have the Strawman kit. And I believe their MUAs come in 2 different sizes, those of you that are familiar with that system. So there are 3 different available kits right now. Pretty much each kit comes with 12 components of ioConnet, 4 of each length, from short, medium to long. Also with the 12 of the HS caps that you will hear about through Joshua with a one-hand driver. And each kit is also provided with a complimentary pack of 20 direct screws. So you will hear that a little bit within the workflow. So here I'm going to toss it off to Joshua.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to be going over ioConnet. So the whole purpose of ioConnet is to bring all the important pieces into one central location so it's easier to scan. And the reason why we want to do this is because of stitching errors that the scanners have right now. I have a screenshot over here of what happens. So this was actually scanned with the Medit i500. And I started scanning from this tab over here, and I went all the way across to this tab over here, and then I tried to follow this articulator, but somehow, for some reason, the scan looked warped a little bit. So everything looks fine in the anterior and everything, but it isn't fine because the stitching, this articulator is actually this model over here. It should be in a straight line, but while it was stitching, it kind of warped. So the whole point of ioConnet is we want to scan as little as possible, therefore less stitching, and it's going to be way more accurate. We want to try to bring all these hexes into the center, into one field of view for the intraoral scanner, but sometimes that's not going to be possible. Actually, most times it's not going to be possible, but we want to try to bring it as close as possible. So today, the case of the day is these 2 models over here. This was actually a real live same-day digital conversion case that we did a while back. It was actually probably one of the first ioConnet kits that we did clinically. And all I did was just print those models from those cases. So on the left over here, we have the pre-op. And on the right, we have the post-surgery. So implants placed, multi-units placed, and this is the model. So I'm going to be kind of going over the workflow of what goes on and what the technician needs. The whole point of today's webinar is to kind of give everybody a better understanding of what kind of scans the technician needs in order to design. So day of surgery, patient's going to go in and we're going to scan the upper and the lower. But we're going to be working on the lower arch over here. The doctor has to place these tabs over here. These screws over here, they're kind of hard to see. You'll be able to see them when we scan. And even after the surgery, these tabs have to stay. So these tabs are going to be removed when the final scan is taken. So first, we're going to be scanning the lower jaw. It's going to be a pretty standard scan. Only difference is you have to capture these screws over here. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit since it's a pretty standard scan. Make sure you capture these tabs. This is the pre-op scan, so I'm not going to be too worried about these holes, but the scanner scanned it anyways. So and then after, we're going to be scanning the upper. It's going to be a standard scan as well. Not much to it, just a standard upper jaw scan. I'm just going to fast forward this. And then we're going to scan the bite, the left bite, and the right bite. There's the left. And then the right. So after the doctor scans these scans, he's going to send it off to the technician. And the technician is going to now have these scans over here. So he's going to have the upper and the lower and the 2 bite scans. So these 2 bite scans, most likely, or most of the time, the technician's not going to adjust it, only if something's really wrong. So I'm going to actually just organize the scans right now. I'm just going to maybe put an X, and then I'm just going to dump this scan in here because I might not going to use it. And then I'm going to just rename this scan lower pre-op. And then this is going to be the upper antagonist. So if the doctor sends these 2 scans over to the lab, then now the lab can actually start designing the wax up. If the lab starts designing the wax up, it's going to be a lot easier for same day conversion. But I am not going to do the wax up today. So we are currently at this stage right now. And then after the surgery is done and the multi-units are placed, now we're going to be scanning the ioConnects. This stage over here, the ioConnects, we've been telling everybody to scan the ioConnects in the occlusal stage over here. There is a more proper way to do this, but for now, we recommend doing it in the occlusion stage. Because we're scanning so little and the ioConnects are just floating in the air, kinda, the software tends to delete some of the scan bodies. So we're just scanning it in the bite stage, ioConnects. All you have to do is scan the hexes and the wall of the hexes, and it's probably a good idea to scan these dots over here too, because they tell you whether they're small, medium, or large ioConnects. That's all you have to scan for the ioConnects. The less you scan, the better, the more accurate it's going to be. And then now we're going to be scanning the HS caps. So the doctor's going to remove the ioConnects, place the HS caps on, and then scan. So this is going to be your main, this is going to be the designer's main file where they designed the arch off of. So you have to get the screws again on both sides, because that's going to be our alignment points. And it's probably best to not leave any holes in the tissue, or it might cause errors for the designer. So make sure you capture these screws on both sides. And then Because we scanned the ioConnect in the occlusion stage and then the HS caps in the lower jaw stage, the software is not going to allow us to export the case unless we scan something as the upper. So we're just going to scan anything. You can even scan maybe like your keyboard or something too. That, and then now we can post-process and then export the cases. Okay, we're gonna export the cases as a STL. And then send it off to the designer. So now the designer is gonna get 3 more scans, these 3 new scans. So I'm gonna look, I'm gonna remove this. So this is the ioConnect scan. I'm just gonna rename the by scan ioConnect. And then I think these 2 scans we just got. Lower jaw scan is gonna be our lower gingiva scan. And then upper jaw, this was just any scan that we did just so we can export. So I'm just gonna put it in the X. So now we have these 4 scans. We have the lower pre-op, upper antagonist. And then we have the ioConnect scan, which is not aligned in place. And then we have the lower gingiva scan, which is also not aligned in place. It is not aligned at all. So first, what I'm gonna do is I have to somehow align this scan to this scan. But there's no matching points for me to align because there's no equal surfaces. That is why it has to go through our software once called ioConnect. So if you download Tru Suite, this is the first page that you're going to get. You're going to go to services and then run on ioConnect right over here. And then you're going to click this button over here to create a new case. You can put anything for the patient number. And then I'm going to drag the ioConnect case into here and then save and proceed. Okay, once in the ioConnect app, you're just going to follow the instructions on the top. You're going to select the center of each hex on each one. If you notice over here, it automatically detected the sizes of the ioConnects that were used, except for this last one, number 6, which probably didn't detect because the holes didn't scan properly. That's fine. So I'm going to select large for that. And then I'm going to select what type of kit was used. This was a Tru AOT. And then I'm going to select which HS cap was used. So you're going to select which HS cap to use based off of the lower gingiva scan, this one right here. So the doctor used this one right here, which is the HS cap small. If he used the HS cap, the mushroom shape, then we would select HS cap, the regular. If he didn't use any HS cap and he just scanned the multi-units only, then you would use the MUA cone. If you used maybe Dr. Abenheim's Powerball system healing caps, we also have that. We also have the Strawman and then several others as well. Whichever cap that doctor used over here is going to determine which library you're going to use in 3Shape as well. So today we're going to use our own HS cap small and then generate. This loading, I believe, is going to get faster soon with the update coming soon. Does anyone have any questions so far? If you guys have any questions, you guys can ask it in the chat. Okay, now we exported the HS caps based off of these ioConnects. So I'm just going to export this. Yeah, I'm going to export this over here. And then now I have this scan over here that I just exported. Now I have matching points that I can do align with the lower gingiva scan. Because of that, now this scan is no longer needed, this ioConnect scan. So I'm just going to put this in the X folder. And this is going to be the ioConnect scan. So these 3 scans, or these 4 scans, is all we have now. The only problem is they're not aligned properly. So now what we have to do is align everything. So this is what I call the pre-design stage. I'm just going to create any order on 3Shape. I'm just going to select the lower because we're actually doing a lower. I'm just going to select crown. It doesn't really matter what you select here. Digital impression and wax up, just so I can bring in one more scan. And OK. So I'm just going to copy this so I can paste it into here. OK, so it's asking me for the lower jaw scan. I'm going to bring in the pre-op, this one right here. Upper antagonist, I'm going to bring in the antagonist. The pre-prep scan, I'm going to actually bring in the lower gingiva scan. Then I'm going to go to design. So this is the stage where I just align everything just so I can design. I'm just not going to touch anything over here. I'm just going to go to, I think this is the segment stage. And then this is where I'm going to align everything. So if you see, this lower gingiva scan needs to be aligned with this lower pre-op in order for us to get the correct occlusion. So I'm going to use this tool over here, additional scans. And then I'm going to go to align. I'm going to align the pre-preparation jaw to the preparation jaw. This is how I import it into 3Shape. So I'm going to go to move. I'm just going to move it away just so I can select equal points. I'm going to select points over here and try to do a 3-point alignment. So the only alignment points are going to be the screws. This is why it's very important to keep the screws in on all the scans. I'm going to try to align. This case, when I actually did a same-day conversion, I had real trouble aligning. But I'm guessing it got even worse by printing the models and then scanning it again. But I'm going to try anyways. It did not align. I'm going to try maybe using the selection tool instead. Nope. Let's try again. Let's try 3-point again. What I'm looking for is how well the screws align really well. This might be the best we're going to get based off of these scans, but I actually don't like this alignment over here. Let me try doing the selection once more. I got better. So let me just double check. So all I'm looking at are these screws, how well they aligned. And I think this is the best we're going to do. If you're unsure and this looks wrong to you, what I would suggest is maybe take a screenshot of this and then confirm with the doctor how much bone reduction they did. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than nothing. So now we have this. Now we have one more scan to align. I'm going to go back to this additional scans over here. I'm going to go to load and load again. And then I'm going to bring in this scan over here. This was the export that we did in ioConnect. And then I'm going to align the ioConnect scan to the pre-preparation scan now. I'm going to move it away, get it into somewhat similar position so it's easier for me to align. And then I'm going to do a 3-point alignment. I'm going to spread the points out as much as possible. And there we go. Now we have all the correct positions that we need to design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export these now. So I'm going to go to save. I am going to export this lower gingiva as a STL. So these two scans now I don't need anymore because they're not aligned. So I'm going to move it over, the lower gingiva as well. The upper and lower pre-op scans, they were untouched, so I'm just going to leave them since everything was aligned to those scans. So this is going to be the lower gingiva. And I'm going to click this and then save this as the lower scan body. Then I'm going to close out over here. Okay, now we have 4 scans. If I open everything, let me actually close everything. Now everything is in position. We have the lower gingiva scan. We have the HS cap scans aligned. And then we also have the pre-op. So now I can actually create the final 3-shape order to design. So I'm just gonna select one question, for example. All on 4 per jaw, create scan only, pre-op, before operation, after surgery. Abs, lower jaw, scan bar. I'm not sure I understand what you're asking, Dr. or Jen. After surgery, copy case, new scan bridge unscrew. Oh, okay. I think I know what you mean. There is a way to do that. You want to create an order in just one order and you want to just streamline all the scans in one order. Is that what you're asking? Okay, so there is a way to do that. So you would select the order properly like how you normally would. And then when you scan, you're going to scan the lower jaw and then the upper jaw and then the bite. And then you're going to go back and then scan the scan body. Before you scan the scan body, you have to trim away everything. Then you're going to be able to scan the ioConnects. I hope that answers your question. Okay, I'm going to go back to creating an order. So 18 to 30 or 19, let's do 19 to 30. I'm going to select Pontic, Gingiva, and then we have 6 multi-unit abutments. And then we're going to select the Tru ioConnect. And then we're going to select the HS cap small. Like I said earlier, this is going to determine your library that you use in 3-shape. So HS cap small. And then this is if you want to use a base or if you want to go direct screw. I'm going to be selecting our Tru direct screw. I'm going to select digital impression, antagonist, wax up, and gingiva scan. And then I'm going to press OK. Okay, and then I'm going to import all these scans now. I'm going to right click, import scan. So we have it's asking for the open gingiva scan. Now I'm going to bring in this gingiva scan. Antagonist scan is going to be the upper antagonist. Pre-preparation scan is going to be the lower pre-op. And then the abutment scan is going to be the lower scan body scan now. Okay, then go to design. So this is where we're going to do the full design. I'm going to just set the occlusion. I don't touch anything in the refine stage unless the scans are very dirty. Then I would actually go in this stage and then refine everything. But I do go to the sculpt lower jaw or whichever jaw that I'm working on. And I actually like to delete these HS caps over here. I think they get in the way of my design. So I'm going to use this extract tool and just click it. And it's just going to extract everything one by one. These caps were only here, or the only reason why we needed them in the design stage was to align the ioConnect exports to this scan over here. But since we aligned it already, we don't need it anymore. So since this was a same-day conversion case, this area over here is all sutured up. So I'm actually going to smooth everything out. So the design will be a lot easier to do. Maybe just add a little bit over here. Then smooth it out again. Normally I would spend a little more time on here, but I'm just gonna proceed. Okay, so like I said earlier, we aligned all the ioConnect export to the caps on this lower gingiva scan, so that's why we were able to extract it. So now I'm gonna align these one by one. So our library actually says alignment failed. I'm not sure why that happens, but if you look over here, the gray deviation is 0 and everything is gray around, so it's actually a perfect fit. Just going to align each one by one. All this stage is doing is telling the software where our multi-unit abutments are, pretty much. Okay, everything is aligned. I'm going to go on to the next stage. Now we should be able to see all the multi-unit abutments right now, right there. So now this is the teeth design stage. This is probably where most of the time consuming part of design is. I'm just going to get it into somewhat acceptable position. Just going to move this molar out over there. Too much. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it like this, even though the design is really bad, but Okay, now we have the gingiva design. So you have to select where each multi-unit is. Just draw a circle around it. Each one. You don't have to make it perfectly round. This stage over here, you're going to get a lot of errors when designing if there's a lot of holes in the scan. And that's when I would go back and maybe try to refine the scans earlier. You will most likely lose your design, I think, if you do go back and refine them. I could be wrong on that though. I'm going to draw the outline of the soft or the gingiva. You don't have to spend a lot of time over here since we're going to be sculpting everything afterwards anyways. If this is too close, I notice you get some errors too. I'm going to go to sculpt. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, so the gingiva generated. So now I'm just going to do a quick smooth around so we don't get any errors. But normally over here, I would spend a lot of time trying to smooth everything out because you kind of want the soft tissue in the patient to heal around your temporary. So you would kind of shape it. But I'm just gonna leave it like that. Actually, I'm gonna bulk up over here since the screw is being exposed. Then I'm gonna go next. I didn't set the occlusion or anything on my design because I'm not actually going to design or will be here all day. Oh, I didn't even check the screw channel while designing. Yeah, that's pretty bad. To avoid going back and changing all the teeth, I'm just gonna smooth everything out over here. It's just a temporary, so aesthetics shouldn't be a main concern. Just gonna smooth out over here. And that's it. That's pretty much all you have to do for the design, really. Let me show you guys what the final will look like. So this is what the temporary will look like. So after you're designing, you would just go to next and then export it and then send it off to the doctor for them to print, or you can mill it. So just to do a kind of a recap of what we did, I said earlier this was a same day digital conversion case. So I have some photos that were taken day of. the surgery. It was pretty much everything we just did right now. So we have the pre-op scan, upper, lower jaw had the TADs in place. After surgery, we had the ioConnects in place, and then we scanned the ioConnects. And then after that, we took the ioConnects off, put the HS caps on. This one was actually these mushroom HS caps over here. And we have to make sure that these TADs are in place as well. We put the ioConnects into our ioConnect software and then exported the cones. We brought everything into 3Shape, aligned everything together, exported everything, and then imported everything again, and then started designing. And then you have the final arch and the final seating. So this was the actual design of the case that we did. And then this was the actual seating. And this was the same case that we just did right now. Does the software recognize what height of the multi-unit we have placed on the implant? Because yes, it does. So the scan body basically shows you where the multi-unit is. So it doesn't really matter what size, what height you used. The scan body only knows, the scan body doesn't know what height you used, but the scan body knows where the multi-unit is, if that makes sense. Okay. And this is the actual case. So, and this is the final x-ray. Does anybody have any more questions while I'm still here? No? I'll pass it off to Katie then.
Thank you, Josh. All right, everyone. I don't have much for you, but I did want to mention those of you who are joining us closer to California or more like Chicago, we have 2 more ioConnect related seminars coming up. The big Chicago week of February 20th and 21st, we are going to be there full days at the Lab Day Chicago event over at Hyatt Regency. And there you will get to see Josh in person, face to face, and we'll have these for you to play with, hands-on with the softwares. And of course, we are holding our annual off-site reception as well with the 1-hour seminar taught by Frankie Acosta. So these are the 2 other chances that we'll get to see each other and talk about ioConnect. And if there is no more questions, then I think we are actually ending a little bit early today. And I hope everybody's okay with that. So thank you so much for everybody's time. And thank you again, Josh. We are also available through email. If you have any other questions, go ahead and email us at sales@truabutment.com if you have any more product-related questions after this webinar. Thank you so much, everybody.